Well, hello there. This is GDVlog, and today I'm going to show you how to start your own game project using XNA. This will include things like how to set up your XNA project and how to make the actual magic happen. In later parts, I will show you how to get past the biggest obstacles you may run into when starting your own game project. But today we're gonna just look at the basic project setup and how to make things happen. Now, I have already installed my Visual C# 2010 Express and XNA. If you haven't done this, then go and do it. So, let's get started. Here we have a button called New Project, and you can also select it from the File menu. Click on New Project, then select Windows Game 4.0. And here you can name your project whatever you like. I'm gonna just call it XNA Chut Part 1. Oops, missed a T there. And you can change the location if you wanna save it somewhere else. I'm gonna go with this, so I'm just gonna click OK here and wait for a sec. And here we have our little project. To make absolutely certain that you have installed everything like it should be, just click Start Debugging here. It's the little green arrow. You should see this kind of a blue screen here. And if you see it, you've done everything correctly. So you can just go and close that window, and we are ready to make our first game. Let's have a little look for our game1.cs file. This is the main game class your game is gonna start. And basically it implements the Microsoft.xna.framework.game class. We don't really need to know what it does right now. Let's move on. Here we have our constructor method, and what it does is basically it initializes our graphics device manager and sets our content directory. Not that important right now. Let's move on. Here's the first important method you should look at. It's the initialize method. This is the place to initialize your game. And this is the place to set all the stuff to start the game, like player info, different kinds of controllers, etc. So everything you must do right in the beginning of your game, you place it here. Here it says to do, add your initializational logic here. And that's the place to do that. So, here we have only one row of code, base.initialize. You should leave that there. Just type your own code here, and when you're done, don't touch this line, so all the other possible game components will get initialized as well. You won't have any other components yet, but it's good to know for future reference. Let's move on. The next important method is the load content method. In here you will load everything you need for your game. All the game assets, like textures, models, musics, sound effects, all kinds of stuff. And here we have our first line of code. It just initializes our sprite batch with our graphics device. You don't really have to know what that does just yet. And here we have a to-do line. Use this.content to load your game content here, and that we will be doing in just a moment. Let's move on. Here we have the unload content method. Here you just unload everything you loaded in load content when the game exits. And there's the update method, which is the main place to run your game logic. You update your logic here, like it says right here. This is where stuff like movement, and if your character shoots or anything like that, this is the place where that happens. And I'm gonna show you how this works in just a moment. And lastly, we have the draw method, which like you would have guessed, it just draws the stuff you want on the screen. I guess that's all the methods we really need for now. So let's test a little thing here. Here we have our two projects of our solution. Here's the actual game project, and here's the content project, which will contain all your game content. Just right-click on it, select Add and New Folder, and we name it Textures. There we go, and let's say we want to have an image, and we want to draw it on the screen. So here I have a folder where I have this nice looking sphere. Sphere.png. So I'm gonna just select it and drag it to my textures folder. There. Adding assets to your game is just that simple. So how do we draw it? We have it already here, but if we choose play, we don't see anything. So let's go up here and make a couple of empty lines there, and let's create a new variable called texture2D. Let's call it sphere. Now texture2D is the basic variable type for your textures. And let's go find the load content method and a couple of empty lines here as well. Let's do this. Sphere equals content.load texture2D, and here we write the path to our sphere texture. It'll be textures/sphere. And now this will load our little image and place it to our texture2D variable. Content.load just loads everything you want from the content project, and this little part here tells what kind of an asset we're gonna load. So we have already loaded the sphere, but it doesn't yet draw it, like we can see here. To draw our little sphere, we just go here into the draw method, and now we need to add 3 more lines. First we type spritebatch.begin and spritebatch.end. These start and end our drawing call. You don't really have to know about this stuff just yet. Just know that you have to begin your sprite batch and end your sprite batch. So, between those two commands we type spritebatch.draw, and the first parameter we need is our texture, which is sphere, and then we give coordinates. Where do we want to draw it? And I want to draw it to 300 pixels from the left of our screen and 200 from the top of our screen. And I'll just put here color.white. It's the tinting color, and when you use white it won't tint your texture. So let's play. And there we go. There we have our little nice sphere. It's quite simple to draw things on the screen, but how do we make the things move? Now, let's see. We need a new variable here called vector2, and let's call it position. And inside the initialize method we call position equals new vector 2. Let's give it 300 and 200 like we did earlier. Now inside update method we should add these kind of lines. If keyboard.getState is key down keys.left, position.x minus equals 1f. And I'll just do a couple of these. If keyboard.getState is key down keys right, position.x plus equals 1f. And if keyboard.getState is key down keys up, position.y minus equals 1f. And last, if keyboard.getState is key down keys.down, position.y plus equals 1f. There. This might look quite odd at first, but what it really does is every time it calls update, that's like hundreds of times in a second, it checks if it's actually first it collects the keyboard state, and then it checks down if this key that we specify here is pressed down. And we take keys.left, and that means it's the left arrow. If that happens, we take the position.x and take one float value out of it. So if we have here like position is 400 and actually position.x and do that line, then it'll be here like this. And the right arrow thing does, it just adds one. And same thing with up and down arrows, but it just controls the Y variable. So let's go to the draw method, and here we have the new vector 2. Just replace this part with position and save and execute. Here we have our little sphere, and if I press the arrow keys, it'll move right, up, left, down. And you can even press them simultaneously. So, that really covers up this part. Now you know how to draw things on your screen and how to move the things around by pressing keys. One thing more I want to show is how to, if I want to move the things with, let's say, WSAD keys, like you usually do in like FPS games and so. Just erase the dot left and put keys.A. Here, write out keys.D, keys.W and keys.S. And what if I want to move them faster? Just change these ones to twos. Now it'll move twice as fast. Here we go, I'm pressing WSAD keys here, and it moves a little bit faster. So, in conclusion, we created a new game project, imported an image into it, made the image appear on the screen, and made it move around. Hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and if you are still interested in XNA, check out the next part. This is GDVlog, thank you for watching.